Matt Lenihan Boxing Social in association with Empire Fight Store, joined by Dave Coldwell. Dave, look, I appreciate you dropping things at short notice, giving us some of your time. How are we, mate? Anyway, all good?
I'm all right now, mate. Yeah, I'm really good. Thanks very much. Stressful afternoon, but all good now.
Yeah, well, I know what you mean. It is a bit of a stressful time. What's a crack at the minute with your fighters? You've obviously had a lot of good results recently. I was there in Bolton for the debut of Ellis. Exceptional talent, Stephen Cairns doing his thing again. I mean, he's going to need some rounds at some point. He seems to be punching with real intent. You must be pleased at the minute with how things are going, and hope you're on the comeback as well.
Yeah, and don't forget Dan Howard on Channel 5
Dan
as
Howard
well.
on Channel 5.
Same show as Ellis. Looking very, very good. So yeah, I'm over the moon. Hope he's back. He's back punching. He went to see Mike Hayton this week. He can start resuming, not blasting heads, but he can start sparring now, using his left hand. So that's exciting news for us as well. So yeah, 3 out of the 4 fighters all getting out recently, and all of them looking fantastic. Like you said, Ellis for his debut. Barry Jones was over the moon with him. Thought he was so good. Very, very composed, assured, boxed really, really well. Dan Towd on that show, he was spectacular, just effortless, just did everything. All 3 fighters, Stephen as well. What I'm so happy about as a coach is that they all did what we work on in the gym, and then what I asked them to do on fight night, they literally did step by step and went out and did everything. And if you speak to them all, they'll all tell you the same thing. That's the coach's dream. So in terms of performance levels, brilliant. And for me, that's developing fighters. That's what you want to see out of your kids that are coming through.
I just about to say, Dave, you've seen a lot in boxing ups, and we know boxing comes with down as well. But
yeah,
when you have sort of nights like that, and it's not like the sort of they're not it wasn't the big shows, with all due respect, but does that sort of, when you're driving home, you go, you know what, that sort of give you that satisfaction, go, you know what, it is all worth it when you see the young guys in particular, because they've all got quite a mature mentality. Them fighting we're talking about, it must fill you with a lot of pride knowing, look, we're actually going somewhere.
Without a doubt. I mean, that's what we work on. It's not just physical boxing. It's mental as well. And Dan and Stephen, even though the fights aren't the most high pressure fights at this moment in time, Dan's live on Channel 5. Have you seen the viewing figures that they get? Stephen's making his debut for Frank Warren Queensberry on TNT live. That's his first fight for them after being out for a while, back in Ireland. And so the pressures are there, but for him to show that level of maturity and just to be calm and just to go in there, not trying to load up, not trying to be a power puncher, but because of what they've done, they get rid of them and nice and early. I'm over the moon. And like I said, with Ellis, his debut, the pressure of going in on a debut, again on a Wasserman show, it's there's pressure there, and he boxed just so well. So yeah, I'm over the moon with the mentality of them. And like I said, this is development. This is all part of progression onto the bigger fights and bigger nights. Stephen was outstanding. And the fight lasted 58 seconds, but it's what he did, it's what he didn't do, and it's how he delivered the shot. Everything was perfect. I'm over the moon with him. And his IQ is improving rapidly, consistently every week in the gym. The stuff that we do, the sparring that he's getting, the maturity he's showing, and I'm always quite realistic with my fighters, and I'm always big on just taking my time, developing, not rushing, not talking nonsense about it. But I've got to say, my maximum I'll ever have is 5. I've got 4 fighters in that stable, and the 4 fighters Hope is the oldest at 24. The 4 fighters that I've got, Hope Price, Stephen Cairns, Dan Toward, and Ellis Price, they're four of the most talented fighters that you're going to see in this country, you know, and they're, you know, you look at how they're performing. Hope his last fight and throughout his career so far, Stephen and Dan especially, at the stage that they're at, prospect stage, you know, tell me better prospects. You know, it's not just about going out there and blasting kids out, and it's not about that. It's the maturity and intellect that they're showing to go with the boxing ability, and it's an improvement. So I'm over the moon with them.
100%. Look, it's always nice when your own stable's doing well, and there's some big fights coming up. Boxing's been quite active in terms of fights.
Yeah.
We'll come on to the want to come on to the Wembley card, which is coming up. I wanted to touch on Shakur Stevenson a bit with you. Shakur did his thing, got a convincing victory. He seems to get a lot of negativity, and I know that's because, you know, he goes out there and, you know, I think sometimes people feel he's got the safety on maybe too much, and he's got all this skill. What's your sort of standpoint on it? Because we've seen him in there with an Oscar Valdez and dominate and really like inflict himself on him. Is it a case of he needs to do more? Is it, obviously, I know he's like leaving Top Rank. That was his last fight with him, so he's becoming a free agent. And he just what is it? What's your opinion on Shakur right now?
I think he's outstanding as a boxer. He's outstanding, but without getting myself into trouble, I feel that all these American fighters, brilliant fighters, but they're all talking nonsense at the moment, and they're all getting hyped up about what's going off. You know, I mean, they have I think they seem to have this overinflated opinion of the worth and the value, and instead of just, not all of them, but some of them, like Shakur, outstanding. But if reports are right and what he said is true, that he got offered, what is it, 15 million or 3 million a fight or something like that, right? If he's getting 3 million a fight, I guarantee he's not making the promoters and the show, you know, the people that are paying for that. He's not making them 3 million a fight.
Mm-hmm.
You know, so if he's getting offered 3 million a fight, I think that's a good deal. You know, everybody wants to be. We were talking about in the gym today. Everyone wants to be Floyd Mayweather. They're all, you know, even, you know, Tank Davis talking to, he's exciting, he's amazing, and he puts bums on seats, but he's not fighting any of the top marquee names, you know, that he should be fighting. He's a supreme talent, unbelievable fighter. Mm-hmm. But they're all businessmen, and which is, I get, but they're all putting a value on themselves as though they're Mayweather. But let's not forget, before Mayweather started making the superstar money, he was going out there and destroying people. He was vicious to go with his skills. He was going out there to beat people up. Shakur Stevenson's amazing boxer. I love it. I can watch Shakur for hours and hours, and I have done. Right, I can appreciate that. But you always see that way. You think, okay, right, now we start going through the gears, and he doesn't go through the gears enough. He has done in a couple of fights, like you said, Valdez and Jamel Herring, outstanding performances, really outstanding performances, and that's where when he senses that weakness, they start losing the strength. Then he goes through the gears. But a lot of times he's got that safety catch on, and fans they appreciate it when, even if you don't get rid of him, but still lifting the tempo, drop back down, lift the tempo, drop. You look like you're trying to beat him up instead of just settling to do the same thing where you know that they're not going to go. Then fans aren't going to be entertained by that. And like I said, Floyd Mayweather, they all seem to be wanting the Money Mayweather finances and purses. But Mayweather, before, to earn that sort of moniker and that sort of amount of money that he was getting paid, he was box office star because he would use his skills to go out there and destroy people and put on shows. You know, like I said, not always goes by stoppage. Roy Jones, same. All these other fighters did go out with the intention to if I can't knock you out, I'm going to beat you up. No, I'm just going to get to and win on points. And yeah, you know what I mean, and I feel as though Shakur's one of those. you know, like I said, a lot of American fighters at the moment. Yeah, obviously with Garcia, you know what's going on with his mentality, but
Yeah.
you know, Devin Haney and all these guys, they're all outstanding abilities and potential to become superstars, but they're robbing something from the careers by just wanting that money for every, you know, for it's like Devin Haney kicking off about, you know, the purse bid for his fight. Well, purse bids always tell you a true worth, a true value of yourself as a fighter, because it's open to anybody to bid. It's not just one promoter that may have worked with that's worked with you before in the past, but you know, it's open to anybody. If you're that guy and there's a purse bid that goes that, then other promoters are going to want it on their networks, want it on their shows because you're going to generate all this money. Well, if they're not bidding for you, that means that they don't think that fight is going to generate all this money.
Yeah.
You know?
It's always, I look at the American scene now, and when you look at Shakur Stevenson, Devin Haney, definitely a Tank Davis. Obviously, Ryan Garcia, he's got his own things to worry about at the minute. But when you look at that sort of crop, you look and go, right, let's just, there is some mega fights in there.
They're all superstars in the making. The potential of those fighters, because they're brilliant and they can talk shit at each other. You know, these fights could be absolutely huge, but you know, they're wanting the superstar money when kind of like it's still going to be a lot of money, but get the fights done, build the profile, you know, build that resume.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Be interesting to see how it all pans out. Hopefully, we see him. I think I've read on a few accounts that Gervonta Tank Davis and Vasyl Lomachenko are in negotiations. I know everybody's like, I think it's almost like a catch-22 because when Gervonta's coming up, he's the young fighter trying to build his record. Then he gets to a point, and he's said openly, I think, for years, in all fairness to him, look, I will fight him, no problem. And now he's at a point where he can fight him, and people will say, well, oh, Vasily's old, and it's like, well, yeah, he is, but he's still very, very good. So
It's a good fight. It's a really, really good fight. Really good fight. Listen, I'm a huge fan of Lomachenko, but I'm a massive fan of Tank as well. I look. He for me is the closest. Don't put him in the same category, but he's the closest I've in my time in boxing, where when a fight comes up, where you're tuning in because you know at any second of that fight he can turn your lights out. He's the closest fighter I've seen to Mike Tyson in that regard, where I have that buzz when he's fighting. I'm a huge fan of Tank. I just want him to be fighting in the big fights. And all right, every fighter ends up fighting that guy that's not quite the same as what he once was, but he's still the name. They all do it. So it's a great fight. It's just that for me personally, I'm a massive fan of Lomachenko, and I would find it sad him getting the Tank fight now at this stage of his career, and if he was to get knocked out by it, because the thing is, Tank can turn your lights out bad, and I would never want to see that for Lomachenko. If Lomachenko gets beat again, then I'm hoping it's on points. I don't want to see him. I don't want to see him getting knocked out. But with Tank, I believe that guy can knock out anybody that he faces. Anybody. He's got that stupid power.
yeah, we're coming into an era now as well where the big fights they are happening, which is good. Obviously, in terms of His Excellency and Saudi Arabia, but like PBC sort of, I think before it really started kicking off, they were starting it with. I know it was long overdue, Spence Crawford, but you got in the same year you got I want to say Tank and Garcia. There was another one as well, which I'm guilty of forgetting. I think it was maybe Canelo and was Canelo Plant the same year? I know it's not that mega fight, but it's still good fights. They're good fights. Caleb's a good fight. So hopefully we see them all dance at least once with each other. Chris Eubank Jr. signs with Sky Sports. I didn't really expect it. There was a lot of talk about him and Canelo potentially in September, around the 16th. What do you make of this move, and how do you see a fight between him and Canelo at this stage of Chris's career, bouncing off the back of obviously a Liam Smith win? Is it excite you? Can he beat him? Just give me your thoughts.
Do I think he can beat him? Probably not. It's more great for him great for him because that'd be, that'd be the mega fight that he's always wanted. First, I think it's brilliant that he's on Sky, and I can understand why he's on Sky. It's a huge, huge platform. It's the best platform out there, the biggest platform out there, should I say. So it's it's a no-brainer for him to be on there. He draws numbers, so it's no brainer for Sky to get hold of him. It's more of with that fight, it's more of a disappointment I'm looking at with Canelo because Benavidez.
Yeah.
What you're going from where everyone wants to fight Benavidez, and he's a young lion coming through.
Yeah.
And you're swerving that to talk about fighting Chris Eubank Jr., who's not got one, real. Well, listen, when the guys that he's beaten, that are good top names,
yeah,
weren't at the best. Were at that end of the career. Do you get me? I mean, even with Liam Smith, we are being disrespectful to Eubanks because I think how he turned it round from the first fight is amazing, brilliant. Got loads of respect for him for that, and I love that where a fighter can look wiped out and he brings himself back and it puts himself back on top again, and I think that's brilliant. But I've known Liam, I've watched Liam all the way through his career. When I was watching the fight, I'm thinking, there's something wrong with him as the fight starts. Do you know what I mean? Like early in the fight. So without, it does sound disrespectful, but without being disrespectful to Eubank, I do feel as though there was something not quite right in that fight. But Liam got in the ring. So if he had an injury, which he's never ever said he has, but if he had an injury or if there was something wrong with him or whatever, he got in the ring. You can't use that. Once you decide to get in the ring, if you're not 100%, that's on you.
Yeah.
So that's not taking anything away from Chris. But what I'm saying is, if you're trying to compare if you're trying to give him a resume that gets me excited and says, as a Canelo fan, says yes, this should be the fight for Canelo. When there's someone like Benavidez there and other fighters out there, it's like it's not what I would be wanting if I was looking at that sort of point of view.
Another one I wasn't going to talk about this, but because we're obviously talking about Canelo and the Benavidez situation. Do you think when you get to a certain point, i.e., like when Floyd gets to 35, your Canelo's now at that stage where he's 33, and when you look at Canelo's resume, it's a who's who of anyone. I mean, a Bivol jumped and then wanted to fight Bivol that way, and Bivol said, "Actually, I'll think about maybe going for your belts instead and coming." And he's like he's doing it. And then when you get another guy, if he beats a Benavidez, there'll be always another guy. And do you always think, is it unfair to say he's swerving him because he should be able to do it on his terms? Because look, he's had this career. It's like, what am I supposed to go until I get thingy?
Of course. But the problem is if you're going to carry on, then there is always going to be that next guy because you're carrying on. If you're not gonna face the newcomers and I'm not talking about somebody that's quite ranked right down, bottom end at top 10 and they're shouting you out and shit like that. I'm talking about there's always going to be one outstanding kid that everyone's saying, oh, he's the heir apparent. He's like Mayweather did when he fought Canelo.
Yeah.
Mayweather was an old guy when he fought Canelo. Let's not forget that.
You're about 35, I think.
Yeah, right. So it's not like he was a young in his prime sort of ages. He's coming towards that stage where you think, oh, he's getting old. And Canelo was the young guy, but Mayweather took on that challenge. And so I look at Canelo and I think, well, he's done everything and he can do whatever he wants because his resume is special, outstanding. So he can do whatever he wants and it doesn't really matter, and he's going to sell it. It doesn't really matter. But what I am saying is,
as a fan,
I can't help feel disappointed because as a fan, I want to see Canelo fight Benavidez and see how that fight goes, because is Benavidez the guy that could beat him? So you want them questions answered, and sometimes how it happens is we will just never know. It's like Froch Calzaghe over here and things like that. You fights where you think, oh, I think he could. You want to see, and you're going to want to see, but then you can see it on one man's point of view where you say, why would? And I get that. It's like me. So it's like me saying about Lomachenko. If I'm Lomachenko, I'm Lomachenko's, team. I'd be like, oh, don't fight Tank because it could go horribly wrong, and he's fresh and he's sharp as this, and you're not quite the same man. And I wouldn't want to say maybe at your peak, but not. So if you're a fan of theirs, you're kind of like, oh, I don't want to get beat by him. So you won't want that fight to happen. But if you're a neutral, and if you've got nothing in the game, you want to see the fight. And so then you're going to be a bit. Anything else is a bit shit.
I really hope we see it. I remember speaking to him in Vegas, and he was like, "No problem." He says, "Just pay me the money that I'm worth." And I know that's always looked at from people going, "Oh, that's basically him saying I need way too much money." But in this day and age, with the influx of money, obviously the things they're doing inside, you never know. But look, let's hope we see it. I just want to just quickly before we end, because you were some of your time, just touch on this this Wembley card. What a card! In terms of cards we've seen over the last 6 months, I mean, is this the best one? Is this beat 5v5?
Yeah, probably. I would say probably. You'd have to, because you would, because Booxer versus Willie Hutchinson is a really good fight. It's a really good fight. You've got obviously AJ Dubois is a cracker, is a really good domestic heavyweight fight, and regardless of what I think or anyone else thinks, Daniel Dubois can knock anybody out. So that means both fighters can knock each other out. So in heavyweight boxing, that means it's a really good fight. That's a really, really good fight. And then you've got, I mean,
Josh Kelly,
Kelly Liam Smith. What a fight that is! And it's at 160 as well. So 160 helps Liam a little bit because he's not got to quite, boil himself anymore. Josh Kelly is usually a 154 fighter going up to 160. So it's a really good fight,
The catch that's a banging fight, but I think that
again, that's what I mean. This card is better than 5v5. 5v5 was very, very, very good. But yeah, this is better. This is just a really good show all the way through. Again, it's boxing. Boxing's where it's showing you when everyone gets their heads together and when the money's there and people are sensible, then it's the best sport. It really is.
Yeah, I'm going to say Ben Shalom's now introduced to the fray a little bit as well. Tyler Denny, and that's a terrific fight. Coming off a good win, I suppose. I know it ended in prematurely, but over Felix Cash. Tyler's on an incredible rise, and everyone rates Hamza Shiraz as sort of the next sort of big thing coming through, doing the right things. That's a good fight, isn't it? It's exciting.
It's a really good fight. Yeah, that's what I mean. You've got fights. You've got fights there again where either man could actually win the fight. If you go through the cards, you can make a case for either man, and that's what you want to say. That's what you want to see. And some are real 50-50s, and some it's like you're going to be whatever opinion you give on it. People are going to say you're talking shit because they don't agree with it. So it's a good card. I think that's good. It's always a good fight when people say you're talking shit because they don't agree with what you're saying, because that means not everybody's got the same opinion.
100%. Boots returns this weekend. I know Eddie's buzzing, obviously, the acquisition of him, and obviously Matchroom doing the thing, global promoting, and they're bringing him back to Philly. Everyone was waxing lyrical about him for years, and I think all really missing was, and there's nothing to do with the promotional side, but start seeing these names on the resume. Hopefully, it can force people in with him now, and obviously it kicks off this weekend against Avanesian, but just talk the last thing on Boots. What's your opinion of him? Is he the next?
I'm a massive fan of Boots. I think he's an outstanding fighter. I think I've always thought he's got superstar written all over him. He just needed promoters that could push him to that, And it's like, it's crazy. You've got somebody that everybody in the sport is talking about. Is people talking about him being Crawford at welterweight, and people saying, oh, he's the heir apparent, and but you never took him into his hometown. You know, look at what he sold. Look at how that sold.
Some good numbers.
You know, great numbers. You know, and this is fight one. You know, you say it's not as you need if you want to be a star, you need to have good promoters that know how to promote and push you. And that's one thing that Matchroom do. They get a lot of shit out of America, and they have signed a lot of duds out of America. I'll be honest, in terms of the prospects and people that are back to it. But then they've also got some really good fighters, and I think Boots Ennis is the main guy that have signed out there. I think he's the one, you know. And I think with them, I think he can be a superstar out there. He's got it all. He's got it all. He can fight. He can box. He can punch, and he's a showman as well.
Yeah, he's got. When you watch boxing, he's the style that you. Or at least
But also with this fight, it's not a gimme. It's not a hometown delivery. You know, Avanesian's a fighter. He's a tough fighter. Obviously, you know, he's had good notice, but not great notice. You know, he seems like one of these guys that's always training. And I'm sure, you know, Neil Marsh, who's done a great job with him. I'm sure Neil's always been saying, listen, this is what happens. As soon as there's a sniff of a fight, we start talking. Oh, they come on to me about this fight. You tell your fighter, start training. The fight might be made until 4 weeks before the date.
You've been training,
but you've known.
Yeah.
Unless you're in with a manager that doesn't tell you anything and just drops it on, which I can't imagine it. Right. As soon as there's a discussion with a promoter about a certain fight, you're telling your man, listen, this fight might come off. We're miles away from it yet, but just in case, get yourself in the gym, start training. Right, okay. So he hasn't been training for 4 weeks.
Yeah.
He's had it however long the discussions have been going on for. And he might be one of these fighters that's ticking over anyway. Because when you're in the Who Needs Me club, you kind of need to be ticking over all the time.
Yeah.
Because people aren't going to give you 12 weeks, 10 weeks for a fight when you're a dangerous fucker. You know? They're going to try and drop it on you last minute. And it's down to you to be professional, whether you've got a date or not, and be ready to then kick it on for the proper camp. And I think Avanesian could be that guy. But he's tough, he's strong, very, very good fighter. And so this is a good fight for Boots. I actually think his style is made perfectly for Boots Ennis. So I do think that we should get a special performance from Ennis. Yeah. But if he hasn't got the engine, and if he hasn't got, you know, if he believes in the hype or whatever like that, then Avanesian's the guy that's going to find, you know, he's going to find you out.
100%. A good solid test, potential banana skin, and yeah, look, let's just see how he gets on. I think it's a good fight. Dave, appreciate your time. You give us an awful lot of it. We covered a lot there as well. We'll catch up soon, and obviously when you boys have got further announcements, we'll do a bit with them as well. So top man.
Nice one. Cheers, mate. See you later.